Every interaction I have with anyone who is suffering from pain and other symptoms is, in some way, the same. Everyone wants answers, doesn't know where to find them, who to believe, what to think, or even despairs that there are answers. My column system explains every corner of mind-body experience so that you know how to think and what to do to get better fast. The 3 columns, emotions, doubt, and power, are each tools to eradicate chronic symptoms, alleviate acute ones, and expand peace and alignment with yourself. My group membership allows you to interact directly with me to help you think through how to handle each mind-body moment in a supportive, mind-body educated community. You can sign up for these at www.crushingdoubtmembership.org. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally. In this episode of my Mind-Body Connection series, I'm going to talk about how your power column gets formed through the lens of formative interactions and what determines which ones loom large and why. The power column is represented best as a concept by the core narrative, the compact, succinct version of how you've most centrally suffered, how this impacted you in your life, and what you can do to live differently. You can check out what the core narrative is in my video entitled Understanding Your Identity Through Trauma. While the core narrative itself can be quite useful, it is the act of creating it that brings about your understanding of what you have really been through in your life. Much of the core narrative ends up reminding us of the messages we got as children about who we are, what was expected of us, and how we could see our value in this context. So what I want to talk about today is a particular example of how many of us receive that information about ourselves. We've probably all heard someone say this line to us at some point in our lives. I'm not angry at you, I'm just disappointed. This is a line I'd like for us to look at with fresh eyes in our society. Most people have been taught that this is somehow a softer way to talk with someone when they've hurt us. We've been taught that this should even be included in our parenting techniques. We've come to think of it as a line that is very effective in getting the point across because we skip the fight and go straight to the central feeling. In fact, it is a very effective line at communicating something. This message is never lost. But here's the problem. It is a profoundly terrible message and causes maximum damage to the receiver. If the person receiving this line is a child, the younger the worse it is once the child is old enough to comprehend the meaning of the message, this kind of line can do damage for life. If you've ever said it to your kids, don't worry. The damage is done more with the lack of repair than it is with the initial statement. But very few people recognize that repair is even needed. In fact, the way we think about this message suggests that the receiver is the one who needs to do the repairing, to earn their way back into our good graces after doing something disappointing. But the reality is, everything about this statement is backwards. Let's pick it apart so you can see what is really happening. The very first thing that gets established is that the speaker is supposedly not angry. Well, first of all, yes, they are. So this is a lie. Not only is it a lie, but we must remember that lies, and I mean the ones that aren't well-intentioned and measured, like ones intended to spare someone's feelings, are all things that contribute to our doubting our own reality. How good can this statement be, even just getting through the first half of it? But the second half is really where the knife gets twisted. Not only is it delivered with diminishment, I'm just disappointed, as if this isn't a big deal, but a supposedly lesser word is chosen to soften the blow. Even in TV shows, it's regularly acknowledged that someone we love and respect being disappointed in us hurts worse than anger. That reveals the true intention of the statement. It is a manipulative one meant to control the behavior of the listener through shame. It's intended to hurt maximally so that the action won't be done again. And why does it hurt us maximally to have someone we love disappointed in us? It's because being angry is transient. Disappointment requires a lot more work to get out of the doghouse, and in truth, we never know if we are ever out. Even worse, in the confines of our internal mind, these words rattle around in our brains for the rest of our lives unless we do a lot of work to understand what was real, that our reality is accurate, and that this statement was deeply unfair psychological warfare. What the speaker is saying is, no, I am not upset in a passing way because of a behavior. I am disappointed by who you have shown yourself to be. Now we're cutting to the core of what the receiver of this statement is going to think about themselves. This is why it works so well to stop the behavior. Now the child, or the adult receiver, knows that not being deeply remorseful for their actions, let alone taking that action again, will result in even further diminishment of their standing as a person in the lives of the person who delivered that message. In other words, we have just gone from not liking an action and a situation to thinking less of the person as a whole. Little could be more damaging than using words manipulatively in such a way that compromises another person's good feeling about themselves. I won't mince words about this because I want everyone to have the best chance at a happy, healthy life. Going the extra mile in a fight, an argument, or in telling someone you are upset and attacking the fiber of their very being is way, way, way out of line. It can happen to the best of us, sure, but you must repair. You must apologize for crossing that line, because it needs to be acknowledged to not have reality testing compromised, and the message needs to be dialed back to its proper proportions, which reveal that the statement is totally backwards. We aren't disappointed in who the person is. We are angry at what they did, and it will pass because we love who they are. A better message would be, you're a person I love and respect, so I was just angry that you did that, but it doesn't affect anything about how I think about you at all. The reason we don't say this, though, is that we are not trusting each other. If we trusted each other to engage in a mutually respectful way, we wouldn't have to be manipulative towards future expectations. This statement is partly there because of society's numerous problems with aggression and knowing how to deal with it, but the reason I'm talking about it today is because of its profound effects on our self-esteem. In the power column, and in the core narrative we build within it, we find the messages we received. There are many of them along the way, but the ones that stick with us are the ones where our very value as a human being that is worthy of respect, love, and validation come into question. When our realities are messed with by psychological defenses, disingenuous statements, failure to repair bad feelings, and more, we end up thinking we do not have value. When people withdraw their love in moments of anger, instead of being very clear that love doesn't go anywhere, even when we are angry, they contribute to major problems in the lives of those they affect. Ultimately, it all comes down to whether the message penetrated to the level of self-value or whether it was a more transient and less important experience. This is what determines what hurts us, and this is what determines what events turn out to be formative. This is also why even seemingly small events can be very big ones in our lives. It all depends on the level of meaning with respect to the self, not on the relative value society places on it from the outside. So when you are looking at your power column, sorting through what happened to you, consider what each thing meant to you and how it informed you on your self-worth, your value as a person, or your feeling of how loved you are. As you explore these things, you are going to find a lot of things that really hurt. That's not the goal, but that hurt was there underneath, whether we expose it or not. In the power column, bringing reality to light so we can see our core suffering self is the key to accepting the fullness of our trauma, which is the very thing that can allow us to mourn our losses, have true self-empathy, and move forwards into our new, powerful lives. Pay attention to what was said to you and validate for yourself what it meant inside, if it affected you profoundly, particularly in a negative way. This is part of how you have suffered, and you deserved better then, and you deserve better now, and always. Understand how your power column gets formed by such events, and you will understand your core narrative better and have more access to a new way forward in your life. I really hope you enjoyed this episode on the formation of the power column and why certain statements and events loom so large. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.